Hey everyone, and welcome back to Launchpad, the podcast where we talk about business, marketing, and everything in between. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about mistakes that are commonly made by business owners. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome back, everyone. And like I said in the introduction, in this episode, we're going to be talking all about mistakes that are commonly made by business owners. And to join us here with this episode is Tina Hay from Puzzle Media. Thanks again for being with us.
Hey, Stuart. Thanks for having me. It's been a few weeks since it's been just you and I on the pod. So looking forward to today.
I know, it is very exciting. And so today's topic is really about when you and I are running campaigns for people, you often get intricately involved in their kind of internal processes and procedures because, particularly when we're dealing with lead generation campaigns where you're trying to make the phone ring and generate leads, you end up understanding how their internal sales process works, all that sort of thing. What I want to talk about some of the things that often come up when we end up putting our business coach hat on, of the things that we kind of see frequently going wrong inside of businesses. What are the things that kind of tend to trip people up in their business?
I'm happy to kick this one off. The number one thing that we have seen over the years, and there are a few, is the person that is taking the calls, taking the inquiries that are coming in, or who is responsible. When it is a smaller business, and they don't have a dedicated sales team, that person is not trained or experienced in how to run that inquiry, how to deal with that inquiry, and how to sell or book a quote or an appointment or whatever it might be. And so in the past, we have put clients in touch with, sales coaches to do some training. We had one client where they were in the solar industry and we were sending them, literally hundreds of leads each month. And, I was speaking to the guy that was running it and he was closing zero. And it was very obvious that we kind of sat down and said, what's going on? And he said, I hate sales. I just hate it. So, for them, we recommended that they just recruit an appointment booker. So someone that was just booking appointments, and we actually helped him find someone as well. And so, that then changed his entire business because he had someone who knew how to book appointments. It's not always selling on the phone for everyone, right? It depends what you're promoting, what you're selling. I'm talking about service-based businesses here that are running lead generation campaigns. So be that Google advertising, they might be running with an SEO campaign, they might be doing some stuff on social media, and they are generating inquiries, whether that's phone calls or website inquiries or email inquiries, whatever that may be. And then that first point of contact is not equipped to be able to deal with that inquiry. They're either trying to sell too soon or they're not qualifying that person, and then they're sending people out for quotes, and the people going out for quotes are saying, oh, well, this is a commercial job and we only do residential, and, just a bit of time wasting. So that's probably the one that has come up the most for us. What have you found?
Well, I'll bolt onto what you've just said, because I agree, that is probably one of the biggest shortfalls. And it's hard for small and some small medium businesses if they don't have a dedicated sales team. They probably don't have a specific sales process mapped out. But I guess what the key thing is that if you're just using your receptionist, and this is not meant to offend any receptionist people out there, they're answering the phone and doing their job. And they may be good at kind of helping in that sales process. They may innately help that along, but most businesses aren't measuring the performance. They go, okay, how many actual new business opportunities or leads came through this month? And with whatever the current structure is, how many of them got across the line? Is it 90%? Well, cool. Then keep going. No change required. But if it's 5% or 10%, well, that's probably a massive problem. And a lot of businesses get in the mode of, oh, we need more leads, more leads, more leads, more new customers. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it is very frequent to find that they also have a problem with closing the leads that they're getting, that they're squandering a lot of leads, leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there are ways of, depending on the business, there are ways of automating this. So if you want to go, say, we've got clients that have salons and clinics that do cosmetic treatments, and make it easy for them. So is it just that person wants to book in and there's no phone call involved? Well, great. Implement some kind of booking software onto your landing page or your email that you send out to say, thanks for your inquiry. Here's a link, book in. If you've got any inquiries, then contact us. Make that process as easy as you can and have, there are ways of automating it. I guess this kind of goes on to the next one, which I'll talk about later. But, you can automate some of this, but you're right, Stuart, the measuring of it, we've had clients in the past that have kind of sat there saying, yeah, we're doing really well. We're closing 50% of inquiries. It's like, only 50%. What if we increase just that, just by another 10%? Doesn't take a lot to increase it by 10%. That then shifts everything because you're not spending any more. You're not really doing anything else and you're getting more work coming in. So then if you can work on that consistently, and work with the people that are taking the calls, be that, an office manager or receptionist, or it could be the business owner themselves. I've met plenty of business owners that are not great at sales and it's not their, they don't love it. And that's fine. And it's not, we're not talking about being that, that slimy salesperson, but it is just having that structure in place of asking the right questions. Are you listening enough? Or are you just talking at them? One of the best tips I was ever given was ask someone how you can help them and then shut up and listen to what the person is saying before you jump in. So, it is the person that is dealing with that inquiry. Are they, talking over the person? Are they not listening to actually what is being asked of them? And sometimes that's where that breakdown in communication happens and people are getting sent off to do quotes for work that they can't actually facilitate as a business. So,
I think it's a really common problem that a lot of business owners find them in when they start off their plumber. I always use the plumber as an example.
We always kind of go to this plumber example. I find
I don't know
that a lot, just in general.
Yeah,
we love you, plumbers.
Okay, you've started up your own plumbing gig. You're answering the phone. You're also on the tools. Things grow to a point where you're like, okay, I need to step away from the phones or something. And so you employ someone to do that job, and then all of a sudden they're not just answering the phones. They're actually kind of needing to field questions like, oh, can a plumber help with this, and this? Or, how do I solve this issue with the thing at my house? And they're having to answer these pseudo sort of sales questions, and they may or may not have an innate ability to do that. And nobody's kind of measuring it, but you go, well, our costs are this and our revenue is this. And, you're trying to make stuff work, but you don't actually have a solid handle on what's going on in between.
Yeah.
This ties in perfectly with my second point, which is not knowing your numbers.
Yes.
So a lot of business owners don't know what their numbers are. And I'm saying that broadly because that could be the numbers in terms of the conversion rate of leads to appointments or appointments to sales or, website clicks to leads or whatever your gross profit margin is. We spoke to a potential client recently, and we're trying to calculate the profitability of a campaign. And I was like, okay, well, cool. The revenue looks great. What's your profit margin though? Because, it's not 100%. It's not like, oh, cool, this is the ad cost and I made this much. Well, therefore, the difference between the two is how much I get, because you've got cost of goods that have to come out of that for materials and whatever. So what is that percentage? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And this business has been running for 20 years or 30 years or something.
Hey?
And so, it gets really difficult to make things work efficiently if you don't really know where it's all at.
Absolutely. And again, this is something that, we've seen this a lot, with people that, they think they're doing okay. They actually think they're doing okay. But what they do know is at the end of the month, there are more bills than there is money in cash, right? Yeah, exactly. And it is the numbers thing. And I see this so often. I do a little bit of coaching, just one-on-one, with obviously in marketing. And the first thing that we look at is people's numbers. And what I have found in the past, both from the agency perspective and just working that one-on-one with people, which is pretty much the same thing, right? Is that there is this fear around the numbers, and it's almost like well, I kind of pay my accountant and my bookkeeper to manage it, so I don't need to be across it as much. But there is this fear of really getting into all of your numbers. And I think that fear comes from not wanting to know that maybe you're not doing as well as you think you are. And I think that's a mindset thing. I think that comes down to a mindset thing. Obviously, you've got to be across your numbers in business. You just 100% have to. You don't need to understand how to do a tax return. You don't need to be across every single thing, but those top line, this is why you pay good people like accountants and bookkeepers. But when it comes to your marketing numbers, you 100%, you need to know the basics. You need to know what your profit margin is. You need to know that what you're charging your products and services out at, are they actually bringing you in a revenue? After you've paid everything. This is the other thing that we see is that people are not, on the back end of the numbers is people not pricing their products and services high enough because they don't understand their numbers, and they're kind of going, oh well, it costs me $20 to generate an inquiry, and I know I convert 1 in 3 that come through, so that's pretty good. And they're not taking into account staff, their fixed costs, their agency costs, all the rest of it. So, you have to take this all into account when you're looking at, from a marketing perspective, any kind of campaign. You have to take that all into account to work out whether it's going to be viable or not.
And the key, if you're listening to this and thinking, well, what are the practical kind of outcomes that come out of knowing your numbers? Let's say if you had a product-based business or a service-based business, it may be as simple, it might be daunting to get into it and figure it out. But, maybe you can pay an accountant to give you the answers anyway. But once you have those answers, you might determine, hey, there is this one particular service that we offer that is just totally not profitable. It's actually dragging down the overall performance. So then you've got a decision. Do you either fix or change something in that service so it's more profitable, or do you stop offering it completely? Because you might just go, okay, well, let's just not offer that because it costs us money. It's not worth it. Now, all of a sudden, in the next 3 months or 6 months, the profitability of your business is going to increase. Yes, you may take a hit in terms of overall revenue, but you may actually end up making more money as a result of that. Or, if you have a product-based business, you might go, oh, geez, well, we've set our pricing to be competitive with XYZ competitor. Otherwise, no one will buy from it. But if you're losing money from the cost, okay, we need to renegotiate our supplier, or we need to change the material that the thing is made out of, or whatever that is, if we're committing to offering that. So you can at least make a decision in terms of do you maintain it or modify it, or do you kill it off completely and pivot into something else? So there should be something actionable that should enable you to increase your profitability at the end of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes, on the back of this, I think sometimes when people reach out to agencies, there is a little bit, not always, but sometimes there is sometimes a knee-jerk reaction in that it's we're not making enough money, we need to market ourselves better. Okay, and that is not always the case. And so when you understand these numbers, like Stuart and I have just said, when you understand these numbers, you can then make that decision as to, is it a sales problem? Is it that we're not making enough sales, or is it that our goods are not priced well enough, or is it that our margins? And guess what? It's probably a little bit of all of that in combination, right? Because I love numbers. I can talk about numbers all day when it comes to marketing, bookkeeping and accounting, forget it. But when it comes to your marketing numbers, it really is those small little tweaks along the way. So converting 10% more each month, creating another 5% on your profit margin, reducing your overheads by another 5-10%. All of these little tweaks, they don't have to be big jumps. They actually end up making your business so much more profitable than you could ever have sort of wished for. And it won't feel like you've got to make these big sacrifices, all these big jumps along the way. So definitely be across that.
I'll give you a practical example of that happened to me just this week or last week.
Yeah, cool.
So I was doing a bit of an audit on all of the software subscriptions that we use, and man, they've piled up over time.
Had to do that last year.
Yeah. And I found that there were about 3 that I was able to turn off that collectively worked out to about $400 a month.
Yeah.
Money saved, because I was able to consolidate them inside of another tool. And one of them was DocuSign. So
yes.
Do you use DocuSign?
Yeah. No, we were using it, but we're not anymore.
I've used DocuSign for, basically the last 4 years.
Yeah.
But now Dropbox has...
that's what we're using.
Yeah, so I've just gone, well, hang on, I can probably do 95% of what I need in the free subscription for the Dropbox signatures, and just not pay for DocuSign at all. And even if I do exceed the free limit of the Dropbox signature features, the paid plan is still half the cost of what DocuSign was. It's so much cheaper.
Yeah. So we've moved over. Wow. It was actually, it was called Hello Sign. So we switched over from DocuSign, I think maybe last year, to Hello Sign. And that's the reason I switched as well, was because you could have that, if you need to do more than whatever it is, 3 for a month, which some months you do, you just pay for that month and it's great. And it's like $20 or something ridiculous. So Dropbox bought Hello Sign, and it's now Dropbox Sign or Drop Sign or whatever it's called.
Yeah. And this is the difference between, I guess this is the step that a lot of small business owners have to make from being the guy on the tools and doing the work to being a business owner / team leader, where your job isn't so much to execute the tasks itself for the customers. Your job is about finding solutions to make the machine run in a more efficient manner, and removing obstacles and, taking away friction, all that sort of stuff. So, the plumber, he's no longer looking at, different nuts and bolts and tubing and stuff. He's figuring out, okay, let's have a look at the suppliers where we get our equipment from, and where the insurance is at for our vehicles. How can we make this work and make it all more competitive? So It's definitely a mental shift to go, right, I'm running this business. It's not about doing the plumbing work itself. Yeah,
absolutely. And those pesky subscriptions, they soon add up, especially for businesses like ours. I did a similar exercise and managed to cut a bunch. It wasn't $400 worth, but it was about half of that though, which is still, that is money in our pocket every single month that we can then invest in other areas. Okay. And that's just one thing. That's just looking at your subscriptions. You know, if you look at your insurances, you look at, all those different things that you've got to have and you've got to pay for. If you can reduce all of that a little bit, well, that then builds, doesn't it? And again, it's either profit or you can reinvest that back into profit, ideally you should be reinvesting back into the business if you're in that growth mode.
Either way, it's up to you to decide how you reallocate those funds, or if you just give yourself a little bonus at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Go shopping.
And, it's not to drag on this topic, but I feel like we're on a roll. But even things like what credit cards are you using, what's giving you the best deal, or we went through the process a while ago of figuring out the most efficient like a points spending, those reward points.
Yeah.
So ages ago, we switched on to Amex for the company, even though the fees are higher because they have a Qantas Rewards, which lines up with our personal credit cards. And then I'll give you a great example. I've got a friend of mine who does a lot of kitchen and bathroom renos, and he does not own a credit card, but his expenses each month on materials are insane, like thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And he's just paying for that out of his own pocket. It's like, man, you could just put that onto your company credit card, pay it off at the end of the month. So it doesn't make it any worse for you financially, but you're going to be racking up all these points. You could be traveling all over the place for free.
Exactly.
So all those kind of things to make sure you're extracting every little bonus out of because, hey, let's be honest, running a business is hard and it's hard to make money. Yeah. So you need to be squeezing every drop out of it.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was looking at switching to American Express just last week for that reason. Oh dear. What else is there anything else, like what's another thing that you've seen when it comes to,
this is a marketing specific thing. And it makes me die inside every time I see it. Not having any kind of conversion tracking on marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
So for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what I'm talking about, let's say you're running a Facebook ads campaign and you are paying a certain amount per month. It's generating, let's say, 1,000 clicks through to your website. And then presumably some people make a purchase if it's an e-commerce, or they call you or email you if it's a lead gen campaign or something like that. If you do not have conversion tracking set up, there is no way to accurately attribute all those phone calls or sales back to the ad campaign itself. So you go, oh, cool. Well, I know that I'm spending whatever, $2,000 a month on this campaign. And I know that in total I had 50 phone calls for the month, but I have no idea how many of those just came from my networking or, SEO, and how many actually came from that paid ad campaign. And my view is that if you don't have an accurate way of tracking conversions, you should not be running the campaign at all, because it's pretty much just a waste of time. So this kills me every time I see it. It's horrible.
Look, I could talk about this one for a little while. We see this all the time when we do audits, whether it's a Facebook ads audit or Google ads audit. Where people are not, where they've done it themselves, and you know what, they've done a pretty good job, but they can't tell you. You go into their Google Analytics, there's nothing set up properly, or GA4 as it's now called, nothing set up properly, no conversions, you can't track it back. We're fans of like layering up the conversion tracking, particularly when we're doing Facebook advertising campaigns, and we're spending some big budgets. So we've got a client that does 3 or 4 big launches a year. They're doing probably about 40,000 each time they do this launch. And so it's big budgets at the time, and we need to see, and they also do a bunch of other advertising or marketing. So the paid advertising is really only Facebook, but they do a lot of other organic email marketing and social media stuff. And so they really want to accurately track, and they use Keep, which is the love child of Infusionsoft.
Infusionsoft, yeah.
Correct. So they use that, which has really good. I don't know what to call it. I'm not so good with the words today. It's the full moon. I'm blaming the full moon. But it's like a mini version of Infusionsoft. I don't love Infusionsoft for everyday use just because I feel like it's a little bit confusing. I find it quite confusing, and I've worked with a number of CRMs, but they've got layers in place where they can track quite accurately. We also then track via Google Analytics, so we can see what's going on. GA4, but we track that end as well, because there's always going to be a little bit of a discrepancy with people opting out of being tracked. With all the updates that happened a couple of years ago with Apple. So there is, we're doing double tracking on them so that, we have our numbers from Facebook, we have the numbers from Keep, and then we have the numbers on Google Analytics. And normally it's probably about 5 to 10% out. So it's not massively out, but without that extra insight, their results on Facebook probably look a little bit better than they do when we're looking at everything else as well. Sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes Facebook doesn't track as many. So, definitely that getting that tracking in place. It sounds very technical and very difficult, and it really isn't. It actually really is not that difficult to do.
I mean, if anyone's worried about it being technical, it's not for the client to set up anyway. You don't worry about setting that up because that's the agency's job to sort that
100%
out.
100% the agency needs to be setting this up if you are paying an agency. If you are doing it yourself and you're not sure how, reach out to Stuart, reach out to me. We are happy to guide you. Definitely get your tracking set up. And it goes back to the numbers, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And for anybody that is wondering, if you're listening to this and going, well, I track everything because when I get a phone call, I ask people, how did you hear about us? That is not an acceptable method of tracking. Say it with me. You cannot track in that way. And the reason is because people don't be upset Google, if this is you. People are like, oh, but yeah, exactly right. Because you don't know. So the most common answer is Google or maybe Facebook, but most people go, oh, I found you on Google. So you don't know whether that means Google organic search, Google ads, because most people can't tell the difference between the two. Is it shopping? Did they click on your Google My Business? Did they click on a link in the Google Discover feed on their phone or something like that? And then you still don't know even if that was super accurate, and it will not be because people have no idea of what they're clicking on in Google. So the answers there will be instantly unreliable. But even let's just pretend that they were, you still don't know. Are they giving the answer, oh, this is where I saw you the first time? This is where I saw you the last time immediately before I called? Or I saw you 10 different times and I'm actually talking to the most memorable thing that I saw, which was a funny display ad or something like that. So you've got Buckley's chance of being able to accurately make any kind of measurements and determination. I would say it's actually better just to have no tracking whatsoever than to be kind of doing these manual surveys that are totally wrong, and then you're making big business decisions around where your budgets are spent based on that. It's a terrible idea. Don't do it.
100%. Terrible. On that actually leads quite nicely, if I can just add one more thing that I see people doing, and that is putting all their eggs in one basket. So they get, their SEO campaigns working, right? And they're on page 1 and they are killing it and they're
just
getting
loving it.
And they are literally doing nothing else. Okay. Then what happens? Competitor comes along with a more aggressive strategy. Google changes something happens on their website, and Google decides they're going to blacklist that client incorrectly, but they're going to blacklist them for a little bit of time. All these things can happen. Same with Facebook. They put all their money in Facebook or they put all their money in Google Ads. You cannot and should not rely on one strategy alone to be generating inquiries and sales into your business. I saw a post this morning in a group that I'm part of, and it's a lady basically saying, I've got an e-commerce business. I'm putting all my money into Facebook ads. The cost of the Facebook ads is killing our business. Has anyone got any other ideas about what I could be doing? So all they are doing is just paying for sales. Okay. Definitely do not do that. You should be marketing your business consistently, constantly. I actually did a little Instagram reel on that just earlier today. The other thing is, when you say you were just using one method, okay, so you just SEO or Google Ads, whatever, you're getting all these inquiries and all these sales. Please make sure you keep in touch with those people. Okay, for some of the people that are listening, for some businesses, you will not make money off the first sale. Okay, if you're a hairdresser and you are using Google advertising, and the cost of a haircut is say $100, and it's cost you $40 to generate that inquiry, and plus you've got to pay someone, and plus you've got all your costs, you will not make money off that first haircut. You will make money off the next 10 haircuts or hair colors or whatever it is that person books in. Okay. They're not going to book in if you are not reminding them constantly to come back to you. So, get your CRM set up. So CRM being a customer relationship management manager, so system. You can use software to do this. You can just set up MailChimp as a bare minimum, which is free to use if you've got under a couple of thousand people on your list, and send out an email once a month to these people that you've paid for. If you're doing SEO, I'm guessing you're working with some kind of agency to do it. I haven't seen many people do SEO really, really well on their own. Some have, not all. It's rare. You're probably paying an agency. You're probably paying for advertising. So make sure that you're making the most out of that customer. Sorry, I just went off on a little soapbox there, but yeah.
I love it.
There's two things there.
I totally agree. And I can't believe that wasn't on my list, but that's probably my number one.
I know. Actually, do you know what? I think, is it the sales or is it that? It's both. It's all the things, isn't it?
Because the thing is that, and here's the conundrum that business, a lot of, this is generally an affliction that hits small businesses, is that they go, well, I'm number one on Google. I've been ranked number one for forever. It's never going to change. Or my Google ads have been running this way. It's awesome. We've got it down. We've got this thing down pat. Whatever it is, so we're good to go. Don't have to worry about that. And we took on a client just this month where it's difficult. If you were to say a year ago, hey, you should look at doing marketing, but we're making heaps of money. We're booked out. We're too busy. Why would I spend more money on marketing when I couldn't service those people anyway? So it seems a bit counterintuitive to develop more marketing channels when you're flat out booked. But when things hit the skids, the algorithm changes, like you said, or, and the schedule dries up and your cash flow starts spiraling down, you definitely will not feel like spending money to develop that. And it's not like you can just go, oh, quick, let's just get into Facebook ads, pump it in there, and it's going to work straight away. It's going to take months probably for that to develop to the point where, okay, cool, this is a viable equivalent. So if we lose Google ads for some reason, Facebook can pick up the slack. I use the analogy of a stool that only has one leg on it. Like, you would not sit on a stool or a chair that only has a single leg. It'd be suicide. But that's how a lot of small businesses operate. They have one channel. They go, oh yeah, we get it all from referrals, or we get it all from Google, or we get it all from this. And there's this assumption that it'll just be like that forever, but it probably won't. At some point, something will change. Like you said, a competitor, a lot of older, more established businesses, small businesses, are now being outmaneuvered by the next generation that are essentially out marketing them on TikTok and Instagram, and they're eating their lunch basically. They go, oh, hang on, we're not getting all of the referrals or whatever that we used to get. Well, you should have used some time in the last 20 years, and all that money that you were enjoying, you should have been devoting some of that to having at least 2 other channels, so that one or two of them could just blow up overnight, and you've still got a couple in the background that can easily kind of run your business. So it scares me. It scares me.
I know. Yeah, I totally agree. It is, I think you said something really key there, Stuart, was, when you are losing money and you haven't got inquiries coming in, you literally will not have the funds to put into your marketing, and it isn't an overnight thing. You should constantly be marketing your business and promoting your business and talking about your business. It is not let's just go out and do this big campaign for 6 months, blow it up, and then we do nothing. It's got to be just going on in the background always. And if you can refine a couple of other channels, and maybe you're in a position where you don't have the staff at the moment, or you don't have the products, or you don't have whatever it is, but you can start creating educational pieces. You can start doing that value add marketing where you're giving people tips for nothing in return, maybe an email address, and start building that up slowly in the background, because you never know when things are going to change. So yeah, definitely develop at least 2, 3, 4, 5, if you can, methods of bringing clients in. And that sounds like a lot, but it isn't really, if you think about it. If you are using, say, some advertising, that might be 1. You might be getting referrals, that's 2, email marketing 3, social media 4, and then you might be doing some SEO or something else. It's not a huge amount, and all you need is a little bit of effort consistently in all of them.
It's like an insurance policy or a safety net. For your business.
Exactly what it is.
If something goes wrong, you can fall back on these other things. You're not just going to go, oh God, we're going to have to lay everyone off, and I can't pay my mortgage because we're not getting any business in, or Absolutely. You've got to have that in place.
I'll just give one example, because this happened to a client of ours. So we were doing Facebook ad campaign for a client. They were in the middle of launching a brand new product that they had. They were putting, I think, like $20,000 that month into Facebook advertising. Facebook shut their account down. They disabled their account incorrectly. So what did we do? We then looked at all of the other channels that, thankfully, this client was doing a lot of other marketing. So we looked at LinkedIn. We looked at the affiliate relationships, the referral relationships that they'd built in the past. We went out to them. We did a lot of email marketing with them. There was a lot. There were other options there available to them. Yes, Facebook was one of the key kind of paid ones that they were doing, but they had all this other stuff going on. And so what happened was they still did really well with their product launch. And then once they were reinstated with Facebook, obviously we could, help them with that, albeit a little bit later than planned. But, this is happening out there. Things happen. So definitely don't put all your eggs in one basket.
100%. Have you got anything else on your list? I'm feeling like I'm getting heart palpitations talking about this.
I know. Look, I mean, we could do a part 2 on this, but I think we've covered the key ones. Really, just being across your numbers, not putting all your eggs in one basket, looking at your sales process, and making sure you're following up with people. And was that it?
I was going to say, you're doing good recalling. And whatever that other one was.
And that other one, just listen to the beginning bit and that one.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much, this
Awesome.
is a longer one. We were on a roll there. So, that's the end of another episode of Launchpad. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening to us ramble on about all this stuff and get it all off our chest. It's very therapeutic for us. So I hope you guys, as the listeners, are getting something out of it as well. Make sure you tune in next time on whatever your favorite podcast platform is. We are pretty much available on all of the main ones. I want to thank Tina from Puzzle Media for coming in for another week. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good therapy. Get off our chest session. TED Talks.
I'm going to have to go have a nap or something to recover from the emotional damage. But I want to, as I said, thank everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on Launchpad.